The fallout from the Royal Rumble took place last night on Monday Night Raw, and I'm here to give you all of my thoughts on last night's episode, including Jey Uso's crowd reaction, Charlotte Flair's crowd reaction, and the stories that we're building up to at Elimination Chamber. But first and foremost, guys, make sure you guys are following me everywhere. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, and make sure you have that notification bell checked, because I do live reactions to Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, and all of the PLEs that follow those shows. As well as I live react on my Twitch, twitch.tv/HillJosh. Make sure you guys are following over there and have that notification bell checked so you know when I go live for the live reactions, as well as we do some gaming over on the Twitch. And make sure you guys are following me all over the place. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I post reactions to all three of those, so make sure you guys are following them, as well as you join my Discord, where is all of my central hub for everything Hill Josh content related. But now, without further ado, let's get into the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw kicked off with main event Jey Uso, our men's Royal Rumble winner. And if the IWC were to tell you anything, it's that they didn't want Jey Uso to win the men's Royal Rumble. But that live Cleveland crowd would say otherwise. They lost their minds at Jey Uso. They wouldn't even let him speak, regardless, even if Jey was waiting, because he was very emotional and you could tell he didn't want to speak because he was just going to break down immediately. So he waited a bit because he was trying to keep his emotions together. But this crowd just went with it and we're like, you know what? I don't care if you speak. We're going to cheer all night long for you. And that's what they did in this segment. They were nonstop giving him his flowers. You deserve it chance. Anytime he tried to speak, they'd immediately just start cheering even louder. It was amazing. Eventually, Jey Uso finally was able to get his emotions under control a bit, start talking about how he literally thought that every year in his WWE career that he wouldn't be here the next year in the WWE. He really felt like he just wasn't cut out to be the singles wrestler, even though he was killing it in the tag division with his brother. Once he went to that pandemic era and his brother was injured and he had to do singles action, he was in uncharted territory, basically, is the words he would want to use there. And he was very nervous and just didn't feel like he belonged as a single star. But he's gone on to prove everyone wrong. And this promo was amazing. All the chants from this crowd. He recaps that bloodline era and just how there's always been amazing parts of his career, but how no matter what, there's always just another amazing part waiting for him down the road. This whole promo was just amazing. And I was so happy that Jey Uso got his flowers. Gunther comes out and he says that he would offer Jey Uso a congratulations, but for what? In reality, he's disappointed because quite honestly, this here possible matchup doesn't appeal to him, which honestly would make sense because Gunther has defeated Jey multiple times. Gunther goes on to say he will refuse any matchup with Jey Uso in the future, regardless of Jey winning the Royal Rumble. Gunther goes on to say if Jey does go on to challenge him for WrestleMania, that he will make sure that every week of his life is a living hell until WrestleMania, which obviously is a dead giveaway that this is going to be the Mania match. Jey goes on to reply saying that isn't he tired because Jey's tired of people saying the same thing, that he can't do what he just did, that he's just a tag guy, that he's not supposed to be in the main event, that he's not supposed to win the Royal Rumble. But he said he's going to go to SmackDown, he's going to talk to Cody Rhodes first, and whoever he chooses into, he's going to walk into WrestleMania as the Royal Rumble winner, and he's going to walk out as champion. This was a great opening segment. It showed that the IWC doesn't always have their pulse on what's going on in the WWE, regardless of what we want to happen, even though the live crowd will have a completely different reaction to that. I love that he addressed the Royal Rumble talk, that he shouldn't have won in this promo because he 100% should have won. I don't care if you wanted John Cena Punk, it doesn't matter. He is deserving no matter what you think. After that, we did get a recap for John Cena announcing that he's going to be in this year's Elimination Chamber, which obviously is going to be leading to the winner getting a title shot for whatever title didn't get challenged at WrestleMania, which more than likely is going to be Cody Rhodes' title. So we have John Cena announced, and later on we have a qualifying match between CM Punk and Sami Zayn for the Elimination Chamber. First time ever matchup, so this is going to be a huge match to cover. We immediately jump into Ludvig Kaiser versus Penta. Of course, Ludvig Kaiser got eliminated from the Royal Rumble in 6 seconds by Penta. That was Ludvig's fault for taking so long to enter the match. But nothing really crazy in this match. It was a solid matchup between these two men. Of course, Penta, even though he's not hitting a lot of the crazy big moves that he used on a weekly basis in AEW, continues to show that he's a great wrestler in the WWE system, doing what they ask him to do. And I continue to be impressed by it because I was a little surprised in his first match how little of the luchador we saw out of him. But now that I really think about it, in WWE, that's just their system that usually tends to make him that way. But that is not a bad thing for Penta. He's gone on to prove that he's a great wrestler without hitting all of the flashy moves in every single match, and this match was another example of that. And Ludvig Kaiser is very underrated today. I really think that he doesn't get the flowers that he rightfully deserves in the ring and on the mic, so he also made this match awesome. Now, it wasn't the craziest of matchups, but it was a really solid match. At the end of the day, Penta gets the win, but what made this more interesting, we saw Pete Dunne come out after the match. Now, last week we saw Ludvig Kaiser talking to Pete Dunne, essentially insinuating that they would be better off if he went with someone like Ludvig Kaiser and teamed up with him. time. But they were immediately interrupted and we kind of just ended it there. But this week, since Pete Dunne came out after the match, Penta was a little distracted because Pete Dunne came out, and then Ludvig Kaiser attacked Penta. But Pete Dunne did seem confused that Ludvig did that, and then Ludvig left the ring, kind of stared down Pete Dunne and walked off. Couldn't really tell if it was like a bad stare down, like I'm gonna beat your ass type of stare down, or of a like, see, look what I could do, what can you do type of stare down. So either way, I'm actually really interested in where this is gonna go with Ludvig and Pete Dunne. So let me know down in the comments, are they about to be the new Imperium? We then go backstage to a Judgment Day Clubhouse segment where Finn Balor is very upset about Dirty Dom taking his spot in the tag match, which is a little odd because if you were that upset, why weren't you even there last week, man? Too busy at the Knicks game. Liv Morgan then rebuttals to Finn Balor saying that they needed to have the match or Adam Pearce was going to take it away. And besides, the War Raiders are the ones who hurt McDonough. Plus that he got Finn his qualifier for the Elimination Chamber, which is going to be against Seth Rollins in a few weeks. So Finn looked at Dom, was like, oh, you got me that? Oh, wow. Thanks, friend. I really appreciate that. And then, of course, Liv goes on to say, we're going to start listening to you from now on, which seemed a little condescending the way she said it. So I really don't think they're going to fully listen to Finn here. They're just going to let him essentially blow up the group is the way I see this going. And I'd hate to see that because I really like the Judgment Day. Obviously, the majority, I think, of the IWC will say that the original iteration of Judgment Day is better than the current version, which I wouldn't really say is wrong, but I also really like the current version. I mean, I live. But it is going to be a sad day when the Judgment Day fully end, which I think we're on the road to. Charlotte Flair then makes her way to the ring, the Women's Royal Rumble winner, and she gets a mixed reaction on her entrance. I actually heard more cheers and boos on the initial entrance, but as Charlotte gets to the ring and starts cutting her promo about her Royal Rumble victory, she talks about being out for a year, about her mental health struggles that she had the last year, basically, you know, kind of insinuating about how she had so much to deal with besides the injury. Of course, we did come to find out yesterday through TMZ that her and Andrade did get a divorce last year, so not only was she dealing with her horrific knee injury that was kept her out for a year, she was dealing personally with mental health issues as well as her divorce. So I really feel for Charlotte Flair, and it was great to see her back and looking to be happy, but unfortunately that crowd changed that very quickly for her. So she goes on to talk about all of this stuff, and while she's explaining how hard it was for her last year just to deal with all of the stuff that she was going through, the Cleveland crowd was legit booing her crazily. Like, she wasn't even like talking about winning the Royal Rumble. She was just talking about herself, the real Ashley Flair, and they were just booing it. They didn't care that she seemingly was struggling last year with her mental health, with her injury, with other things besides that, and they were just booing the fact that she was there and back in a title picture. And she actually seemed taken aback by it. The look on her face when she was getting booed for talking about her personal life, she actually seemed surprised. And I felt bad for Charlotte, and I feel bad for Charlotte, because if you've gone through mental health struggles, which I think a lot of us have nowadays, unfortunately, you know that it's super rough. No matter who says they're by your side, you're always feeling alone. At least that is how it was for me. And it's a terrible thing to go through, so I never wish it upon anyone. So I definitely feel for Charlotte Flair, and I felt pretty bad that this crowd was booing her when she was discussing this topic. But I also kind of understand why the crowd was booing it. I do personally don't think Charlotte needs to be handed the Royal Rumble victory after a year plus, because this is not the first time that she's been gone for an extended period of time, comebacks and get immediate title shot before. This has happened before. So I get why the crowd was initially booing, but I just felt it was the worst timing. Eventually, Charlotte seemingly leaned into the hillside, talking about, oh, you guys want to boo me and all this other stuff, and just kind of leaned into it more. But it also seemed like they cut her off a little bit and sent Rhea Ripley out early in this segment, because I really didn't think that they were expecting this type of reaction from the crowd when she was talking about her personal life. But eventually Rhea Ripley does come out. She talks about, they faced twice at WrestleMania in the past, one during 2020, one of course at WrestleMania 39. She talks about how they're tied at WrestleMania and how she would actually like to face her again and break that tie. She actually begged Charlotte to pick her instead of Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, which to me makes it seem like they're actually going to pick Tiffany even more so now. But overall, this was an interesting segment. I really felt bad for Charlotte getting booed by this crowd when she was being very personable about her life last year. So Charlotte, if you somehow see this clip, and I doubt you will, I'm so sorry that you dealt with all the things you dealt with last year. I'm glad that you are doing better mentally and you are doing better with your injury and your back, but yikes. We then get a Sami Zayn backstage interview where he's asked about his match against CM Punk. He says that he's just happy that he has a shot to punch his ticket to WrestleMania still and get a title match. From there, he is asked about Kevin Owens. He says he hasn't had a chance to check on Kevin Owens, but then he just goes ahead and sees Jey Uso, so he walks on over to him. He gives him a big hug, congratulates him on the Royal Rumble victory. Eventually, he goes to walk away, and then Karrion Kross rolls up to get into Sami's head, asking what it's like to see everyone else live out his dreams. Sami replies that he's sick of seeing him, and if he keeps coming to him like this, then they're gonna have some problems. Kross tells him there's no problem, but if he wants a problem, they can have a problem. Eventually, Sami just walks away, but I'm actually really loving this because I think we might be getting heel Sami Zayn again. It's the New Day with a new theme, and it's actually really solid. I actually really like it. It fits the vibe that they've been given the last month or two, and I'm super hyped for the New Day for finally getting this new theme. Ironically, some people who have worked with WWE and Def Rebel and Stevie Stone and the music engineer, I've happened to talk to that music engineer last year in April, and he had told me then New Day, Omos, and DIY were getting new themes, and of course we haven't had the new Omos theme yet, but we've had DIY and New Day themes since then. So pretty ironic that I was able to get that opportunity to talk to that guy, and here we are, and those themes are starting to finally make their debut. But before that match could even take place, we are backstage with Rhea Ripley, who runs into Io Sky, who is getting ready for her Elimination Chamber qualifying match with Liv Morgan. Io happens to look at Rhea, look at her title, and says maybe she'll see her at WrestleMania. Rhea smirks, nods, and moves on. But Liv Morgan attacks Io Sky. Rhea rushes to her aid, but Raquel Rodriguez comes up from behind and attacks Rhea, pushing her over all of these like moving boxes. I forget exactly what they're called, row cases. I finally remembered. And they continue the beat down on Io before they laugh and walk away. Of course, Rhea and Io slowly get up with anger on their face, which obviously means that we're probably seeing Rhea in that match, right? We go back to the ring where we find out New Day are taking on Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee of the LWO, but what makes this even more interesting is right before this match gets underway, we find out that Rey Mysterio is in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match next Monday against Logan Paul. Eventually, Logan Paul comes out for the matchup. He sits ringside, and eventually Rey and him get into it, and Rey lays him out. Eventually, Rey is about to get the victory over the New Day before Logan Paul pulls him out. And of course, the ref doesn't see any of this because he ends up getting distracted by the New Day, and it leads to the New Day getting the victory after Logan Paul takes out Rey Mysterio in what is setting up to be their match. And I expect Logan Paul to unfortunately win next Monday, but I'd love to see Rey Mysterio in this Elimination Chamber. Overall, this was a solid tag team match. Dragon Lee, was good to see him back in action with Rey Mysterio taking on the New Day. Overall, fun little story they set up for Logan and Rey next week. We then get a video package with Lyra Valkyria and Bayley announcing that they'll be going one-on-one next week. It's a non-title match. It is an Elimination Chamber qualifying match, and that should be a huge matchup for both Lyra and Bayley. After that, we get a backstage segment where the War Raiders are talking about how tough JD McDonough is for that match last week. They give him his flowers for how tough he can be, but American Made walks up, and Gable goes on about how the Creed brothers are real competition and real tough guys, and they'll be the ones to dethrone the War Raiders. Eventually, the War Raiders walk off, and Chad Gable talks about learning how to defeat luchadors from the dark art. So whoever he's going to see is apparently some type of dark art master. I've seen people speculating that this could be Malachi Black or Aleister Black, or it could be Conan, or it could be some other luchador, like maybe even a dark Penta somehow, which I don't know how that would work. And honestly, I'm sure there's a way you could fandangle that into the story, but I just don't think that one adds up. But what is everyone's thoughts? Is this a Malachi Black or Aleister Black? Is this a Conan? Is this someone else? Who is Chad Gable going to learn these dark arts? Because I'm actually pretty stumped here. We then find out from Adam Pearce in a backstage interview that the transfer window closed this past weekend, but he was able to make one more big move, and that big move is acquiring from SmackDown AJ Styles. We then see Braun Breaker walk up. He's like, that's cool and all, but I ain't gonna be facing him. Keep him away from me. And he's like, what about us? Where's business for me? Can we go discuss business somewhere privately, please? And he actually said this angrily and like the nicest I've ever heard him ask a GM anything. Props to Braun Breaker for not kicking his ass, because we saw what he did to iShow Speed at the Royal Rumble. But I actually have to agree, Braun Breaker has seemingly been an afterthought since the move to Netflix. He did have his match with Sheamus at Saturday Night's Main Event the week prior to the Royal Rumble, but when it comes to being on Raw, he's either sitting in the crowd or having backstage segments that are happening during commercial breaks, where most of us who are getting commercial breaks won't even see them, which is another problem I've actually had with Raw lately, because sometimes they have actually some pretty interesting things to say or things that they announce during these, and we don't see them for some of us that get these commercials. I know there's some of you guys here in the States who don't use a VPN that don't get commercials. I don't know why, but that's cool for you, but I'm not one of them, unfortunately, and I miss a lot of these segments, and I have to go back on WWE's Twitter or wherever they post them after the fact to see them, and it's annoying, especially when they do stuff like this with Braun Breaker. It makes me seem like he's not even on the show when he actually is. So pretty much of a bummer, I think, how they do these commercial segments, because it makes me think that these people aren't even on the show, then they're on the show, but it's like in a segment that doesn't even feel important because it was just during commercial break anyways. So I agree with Braun Breaker. Let's get something going with him on Monday Night Raw already, damn it. We then get Seth freaking Rollins. He comes out and he is just seemingly lost his mind a little bit more than he already has. Talks about losing at the Royal Rumble. He talks about love seeing CM Punk eliminated by by Logan Paul. He talks about how the WWE doesn't want to show or talk about him hurting Roman Reigns because that's why he's not there, because he's hurt, not because of, oh, he's just Roman Reigns. No, he's hurt, and Seth wants to take credit for that. He does go on talking about how it sucks that he lost the Royal Rumble, but he does have that qualifying match against Finn Balor for the Elimination Chamber, and then he does eventually call out Sami Zayn to take care of business against CM Punk. Sami Zayn does come out, and Seth just goes into him with this big speech that you need to do what is best for you, and you are the best, and you are going to win this match against CM Punk, and you're going to keep him out of the Elimination Chamber. And he just goes in, and Sami really doesn't say anything. He just stands there and listens and just takes it all in. He looks conflicted, a man who is conflicted in what's going on right now. And like, yes, he does want to make Elimination Chamber, but he's not wanting to do it because he despises Punk like Seth, and you could just see it in his eyes, because that's what Seth meant, is that beat him for me, essentially, without saying it. Beat him for me. He goes on to talk about how Punk said 2 weeks ago that he isn't even on his level. He just hypes up Sami, who seemingly starts to really kind of believing what Seth is saying with his facial expressions. And that's one thing I love about Sami Zayn. He and like Kevin Owens and a few others are so good with facial expressions. They don't even need to talk sometimes, and you totally know what they're thinking. So Sami doesn't even respond to anything Seth says. Seth eventually finishes saying what he's saying about beating Punk tonight, and he leaves the ring. But Punk comes out as Seth is leaving, and they kind of get into a scuffle. We see the refs immediately run up as they're about walking by each other down on the ramp, and the refs immediately grab them, but they do swing at each other and kind of connect, but they are pulled apart immediately, and they kept walking. It was really interesting. Overall, really liked this segment, but it was really interesting to see Seth in this crazy state, because he wasn't wrong, but he just seemed overly crazy tonight. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought about Seth Rollins' promo, because I thought it was freaking insane. But from there, we have CM Punk and Sami Zayn one-on-one for the Elimination Chamber qualifying match. And this is their first match ever. They've never had a one-on-one match outside of WWE. And by the time Sami was really getting going in WWE, Punk was long gone. So they never crossed paths in singles action. So their first time ever match happens in the main event of a Monday Night Raw, which delivered. This match was really good. Their chemistry was hitting on all levels. These two were just going back and forth with reversals, big move reversal after big move reversal, and then landing some big moves at the same time. It was really, really good match. I 100% recommend that you go back, and if there's only one thing you watch from this Raw, it's this main event, because it was fucking killer. But to end the match, we see a fired up Sami Zayn going for the haluva kick, but he's immediately countered and picked up by Punk for a GTS, and Punk gets the win and advances to the Elimination Chamber with John Cena. Now, the one thing I will talk about that I hadn't talked about yet is we had a lot of technical issues on this Raw when it came to the feed on Netflix. It happened at the end a lot. It happened a little bit on, middle of the show. It just happened at many different times where it would cut out, and we'd get this really high pitched sound when it would cut out, and it was so fucking annoying. I don't know if it was bad weather. I don't know if it was just production truck issues. I don't know if it was something on Netflix side. Whatever the case was, it was so frustrating, especially at the main event, because it was happening a lot towards the end of the show. So even after CM Punk beat Sami Zayn, it was happening. It started going even more, started going crazy. I literally closed the feed because I was like, I don't care what happens. This to me should be the end. This fucking shit is pissing me off. Whatever it was, Netflix, please don't allow it to happen again. Or if it was WWE's production, whoever side it was, fix it. But what was funny about that is I literally was like, I don't care what happens. I'm just ending this because this is pissing me off. And the sound kept annoying me, because anytime it cut, it would be that high pitched sound, and it was like the static. So it was annoying to me. So I took off my headset. I was like, fuck this. Close the feed. I was like, that's so annoying. I don't care. Of course, what happens when I do that? Kevin Owens comes in, and as Sami Zayn and Punk seemingly are being respectful to each other, he runs into Sami, pushes Punk out of the ring. Then he hits a package pile driver on Sami Zayn. That's the move that's kept Randy Orton out for as long as he's been out. That's the move that initially took out Cody Rhodes for a few weeks. He's hit it quite a few times, and here he is hitting it again while he's wearing a Sami Zayn Forever shirt. Now, I know what you're thinking, Josh, how do you know he was wearing the shirt? I thought you closed the feed. I pull it back up. My chat was like, Kevin. And I was like, shit. And I hit the button, and he was back. And I, luckily with Netflix, you could rewind. So I just hit like the 10-second rewind button, and I got to see what he ran right into Punk. So it was like perfect timing. So it was still the first time I got to see, even though chat was telling me that it was happening. So that was annoying. We had quite a bit of that, especially at the end of Raw, but it happened throughout the whole show, all those technical issues. So whatever it may be, whether Netflix, WWE's production, I don't, fix it, because that sucked. But overall, it was a really good Raw. Again, it was 2.5 hours. I really think that they found that sweet spot. And of course, there's probably gonna be times where it goes 3 hours too, but we haven't really had that yet since Netflix. Been in between that 2 hour, 45-minute mark and 2 hour, 30-minute mark, which I really feel is the perfect mark. One could make that case, and I brought this up in a review in the past, that it's still not enough, because we aren't getting enough of like certain wrestlers or even that women's mid-card division, and they're not really creating stories with those. And I totally agree at the same time. But 3 hours is just too fucking long. But overall, I gave last night's Raw a 4 out of 5. Had some really solid in-ring action. The stories that are being told leading up to Elimination Chamber are really fun right now. I just really felt bad for Charlotte Flair overall, man, because she was pouring her heart out and that crowd was just like not having any of it. But let me know down in the comments what your thoughts on last night's Monday Night Raw is. If you guys didn't know, I will be live reacting to NXT tonight right here on YouTube and on my Twitch. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here. You have that notification bell check so you know when I go live here on YouTube, as well as go follow me over on my Twitch, twitch.tv/HillJosh. Make sure you're following and have that notification bell turned on so you know when I'm live and you can see these live reactions live and join me in the chat. And don't forget, those live reactions get posted on my TikTok, HillJosh Reacts, as well as It's HillJosh Instagram, and sometimes to my Twitter as well. So make sure you guys are following me across all of my social media. Join my Discord because that's the central hub for all things HillJosh content. And don't forget to let me know what you thought of this video and last night's Raw down in the comments. If you have a differing opinion, I want to hear about it, and comment right now your differing opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys are back for another review in the future. Peace.